Hi folks, Motormind here. Just doing another review. I was watching another Scotty Kilmer's film. One of his other videos here. Just once again, just randomly picked one up. So I'll just have a little look here. This means your struts are gonna fail. So let's have a quick look here.
Today I'm going to show you how to fix a worn out suspension. In the case of this RAV4, the customer was hearing noise in the left front and it wasn't riding right. So I jacked it up in the air, then crawled under. And what do we see? The top of the strut is all oily, meaning that...
Well, that's a pretty clear indication there. So, yeah, you're spot on. You're on that one there. Yeah, it's definitely failed. Not failing. I wouldn't say it's going to fail. It's failed.
The strut is probably leaking. Let's check the other side.
I wouldn't say probably, it is.
The other side, and lo and behold, there's the strut. You can see the whole thing is dry. Instead of being dark on the top, it's dry. So this one isn't leaking. As you can see on the leaking side, the bottom is dry, but all the way up is wet.
Well, of course, the bottom's dry because obviously where your shaft is up here, so that's where it's going to push out there. This is sealed, so if it comes out there, it's been damaged and hit something most likely.
It means that the strut inside is leaking and the hydraulic fluid's coming down.
Yeah, the seal's failed.
If you want protection in a ride, you replace them in pairs. You replace both front struts. But whatever you do, use quality ones. I'm using a KYB, Monroe, other brands. They never seem to work all that long or last for a long period of time, so I'm sticking KYB.
It's personal opinion, really, but okay, fair enough. It's welcome to that.
These are made in Japan. So we'll take off the tire.
One thing I did notice here, and it's maybe just notices that you see his jack stand sitting there, and he's got the his hydraulic jack there. Just being in the trade stuff, I've been in the trade for a long time, and you just never trust hydraulics. You could be able to get jack and all that, but if the seal happens to fail, that car's coming down. That's why you always put like a mechanical something that's stable underneath. But he's got his jack sitting off on the side there, there's nothing to seal, nothing. So I don't see another one there. I don't see why you'd have one sitting there. But yeah, Scotty, you kind of 52 years in trade, you should know better.
Get out of the way. And as you can see here, it's all leaking. We got to replace it because it's leaking away. Now here's the replacement strut. As you can see, it doesn't have the spring in the top assembly, so we have to remove the whole strut from the car, take it apart, then put all the pieces on here and bolt it back on the car. On bolting. Yeah. Torsion bar bolt here. Taking these two big bolts off. And of course, we have to remove the tie rod.
You actually don't. If you look at this design here, you actually do not have to take a tie rod off. I've done this type of strut many times, and that you don't have to take a tie rod off at all. It'll come right out. You don't need to take, there's no need to be touching that and removing that off.
Arm first, so we can get working room, and then when we flip it to the side, it'll come off evenly. So we get snippers, and we put them on a cotter pin, and pull it out. Then we remove the bolt on top of the other arm. I'm lazy. I'm using an air wrench.
That's
it's a lot easier than doing it by hand. Now you can try to use a hammer.
Never, ever hit the top like that. I don't care. If you hit that, you will damage that bolt on the end of the tie rod. You'll never get your bolt back on. You'll mushroom it out. You won't get it. It'll just destroy the end of a tie rod. If you're looking at replacing a tie rod, even then I wouldn't do it because you're gonna mushroom it and then you're gonna be fighting with it to try to get out of the knuckle. Do not hit the top of the tire like that. That's ridiculous. A man who's been in this for 52 years, 53 years, however he always bangs on about, he should know better. No, don't do that.
Hit that off.
No.
But often they're frozen on pretty tough.
Yes, that's why they freeze on. No, don't hit the top. If you don't have that, hit the side here, side of the knuckle, give it a good whack. It actually shocks it, and that thing will shoot out. But don't hit the top.
So I use this puller tool. It always works. Just fits in on it.
Not everybody has them though. So.
The bolt here, and then when you tighten it, it pops right off.
And sometimes these arms, because you see it's not locked down, sometimes they get a strain on there because they are locked in, and they flip out, and the stupid tool falls off. They do work sometimes. It's just I've had lots where they've just been a pain in the arse.
There it goes. And now by swinging this, we can access all the little bolts we need to take off all the parts that are bolted to it. And as you can see now, the hose and everything swings free, so when we pull this back, it won't bang. And we take the torsion bar bolt off, get that out of the way, and then remove the two giant bolts and hold it together. As you can see now, the whole assembly's released. And we
See, so you don't need to take the tire off of that. He's actually, because he's done that, he's actually putting extra strain on the CV shaft. You leave the tire on, it kind of helps support the knuckle.
Let's take them off. Now the back ones are harder to get to, so I'm using this angled wrench to reach them and get it out. I can't even use my impact there, there's no room. They fit on, and you got to pull a little harder, but they come off. Then the whole assembly falls down, and you take it out. Here it is. Now comes the hard part. You got to compress the spring. I'm using these basic spring compressors. Now you can buy a whole strut assembly, but one, they cost a fortune. A whole strut assembly costs over 3 times what the good replacement costs without the spring assembly. Generally, the whole strut assemblies are much cheaper made, like the Monroe quick struts. I tried them, they didn't last long, they didn't ride right. I stick with replacing them with a quality unit myself. Now you stick the spring compressor on one side to squish it down. You put that on and tighten it a little. Then go back.
Now, I got to say these tools are very similar. It says right in the instructions, and in fact it's engraved in the case. Never use air impact tools. They're not designed for it. It puts a lot of stress. The way impacts work, it's not as smooth. It actually hits and hits and hammers like that, and it puts a lot of stress on these bolts. And it can, I imagine, it can do damage to the bolt threads and also to the clamps itself. It doesn't recommend doing that. Don't do that. It's safer to do it by ratchet. This is faster, but
so you get the tension off the top.
Yeah.
Now you can see why I'm using an air tool. You can use wrenches and do it by hand, but it takes a lot longer.
Yes, but it's a lot safer.
Doing it that way. Get an electric impact wrench if you want. Those will take these off too. But once these are tight, you take the top off. Wiggle it off. Then the whole assembly comes off.
I wouldn't put my fingers in there. I've actually seen where guys, when one of those things have slipped off and it's trapped the fingers or it's shot off. Just go watch any A&E thing, mechanics and stuff like that. Those tools, you just have to be very careful with them. One little slip, bang, and the amount of pressure that spring's under.
And then place the spring assembly on top of the new one. And if you look closer, you'll see there's a notch on the end of this, and it fits right into the little grooved hole. Then you took the top of the assembly with the bearing and put that back on here. You got to do some wiggling with these. There. Then before you go any further, put the top nut on so it doesn't.
Well, you do, because if you don't, then you release the tension, then the spring's going to go further than the strut is. So, yeah, you have to put that bolt on.
Doesn't bling all apart. Now that the top's tight, you can start loosening the clamps on the side.
And tighten the bolt all the way down before you take the clamps off.
Then the other. And go back again. Now you can take them off. Then we fish it back through the bottom. We bolt the top on first. That's always the fun part, a little wiggling, but then you get it on. That's what these 3.
I will say about this video, one thing is, I know I've banged on Scotty's, he can't diagnose crap. He can diagnose this. Now, I will say one thing. I was doing struts and stuff like this when I was an apprentice, so it's not like a really, really complicated thing to do. Obviously, you can see it's quite obvious that they're leaking, so. But he did fix this, so, and just for those who moan that I say can't fix anything.
To get the bottom on. Now you got to slide this in, pull it up, wheel it, and put the bolts in. And really, to get them in, you got to wiggle the crap out of this thing, but eventually they'll slide in. Once you have the top one and the bottom one, you can wiggle it a little, and it's easier because the top's in and the bottom will slide in with a little jiggling and pushing. Again, you can do this by hand. But it's a lot more work. You get them tight, at least a long extension bar in a socket. You'll get them nice
Sorry.
and tight. Then bolt all the pieces on like the torsion bar bolt. Stick the tie rod on.
Be careful, torsion bar bolt. I've actually broken with the impact.
You do wiggling, but eventually it comes up through the hole there. Then tighten the nut on top of it and put in a new cotter pin. Stick the pin in and then pull
using
it
new
up
cotter
from
pins.
the
That's
other
pretty.
end.
That's everybody does that. So it's
bend it up.
fair enough.
it won't come out. You go back up to the top and tighten those nuts on. You put the tire back on and you're done. So now you know how to fix your own car.
Honestly, I wouldn't drop a car like that. You know, you let it down slowly. It's just better for the jack. That shocked like that. I just wouldn't do that.
Suspension when a strut wears out and starts leaking. So if you never want to miss another one,
There you go. So I'm gonna say at least that at least he was able to fix that vehicle and diagnose it properly. Some of his techniques aren't the best. A man in 52 years should know better, but I'll give him that one there. So I've had some people lately moaning at me because I've been ripping into him a bit, but it's only because it's legit. I obviously a guy, how many years he claims to have been in the trade, should know a lot better, and that's this kind of point I'm getting at. But I'll call a spade a spade. He did fix that, and fair enough. But a few of his suggestions, as I've pointed out, aren't the best. So that's about it. So thanks for watching, and click the subscribe. Comment if you like. Click the like button or dislike button. Let me know. Thanks. See you next time.